So I had a good response on the first part of this video. And this is basically how to structure your own program so you stop wasting your money on buying these skeleton or really cookie cutter programs that a lot of people just use, and it's more just the structure of what we were taught in school or in any cert. They teach you how to do these skeletons in any type of certification that you try to do for personal training or any strength coach stuff. But this is kind of a structured thing that I've learned over the years, but this is actually one that I've honed in on my own specific style of training that I use to maximize my results in terms of either how my body is or how my performance is. Just a slight overview. We went over in the first video with my ghetto presentation board because of my kids. This is our drawing board that we usually use. So I didn't change anything from what we used in the video in the first one. So just a slight overview. We're do on this skeleton structure, the 5 days split. Monday would be a regular bench day. Tuesday would be a front squat and trap bar deadlift day. All of these can be interchanged once you understand the principles and what we're trying to structure, okay? And then the rest day will be Wednesday. The Thursday will be a barbell shoulder press. Again, we can alter that out with floor press or incline bench press, even close grip bench press, or even a dynamic day, the dynamic effort bench pressing day, or yeah, like a shoulder press, not dynamic shoulder press day or dynamic bench press day, whatever. It's just more moving the weight in a certain way. That's the discipline. Friday would be a basic barbell squat with barbell deadlift. Same thing, you can interchange those. I like to interchange the barbell squats with a variant of front squat or Hatfield squats, which is basically having a safety squat bar, having a bar out in front of you, using it to guide you down your squat. So it's a more technical, but it's an overload tool as well. And then the barbell deadlift, you can also interchange that if you're not a powerlifter, or if you don't want to deadlift, if you have any back problems, stuff like that, if you don't know the proper technique, you can interchange all these out with different compound lifts. It's just, this is the most simplest way I could teach it. And then Saturday would be another bench day. So what I want to go over today is the actual, how do you calculate volume? Volume is a very tricky thing because volume has different stimuluses and it stimulates different parts of growth and performance. So that we have basically like the three spectrums. So it's a power, a strength, and hypertrophy. But there's other little key points inside those realms of repetitions that are different disciplines. So your power sets, which is going to be like mostly what a lot of powerlifters do, it's going to be rep ranges from 1 to 3 reps. So you see sometimes like 4 sets of 2, or like 4 sets of 1, 3 sets of 3. So we're trying to put 2 of those heavy days in on this structure, one upper and one lower. That's gonna ensure that we get the stimulus of the diameter of the muscle group and the strength of the muscle group. So when we lift heavier weights, our muscles get bigger in diameter, so they might not be as dense. So that's the one thing that people don't understand about the volume, is that when I lift heavier, I'm actually forcing the muscle to grow in size. And so I'm talking about volume of size. So like if I'm measuring the diameter of the muscle will actually grow from me lifting heavier, okay? On the other side of that, the muscle will not be as dense as if I were to do hypertrophy. Hypertrophy is the stimulus of fatigue for lactic acid to come in and then actually burn the muscle, because you're actually tearing the muscle apart. The lactic acid, your lactic acid threshold, that's where your lactic acid comes in and burns that muscle group to try and attach those fibers that have been torn apart from you training, from the muscle being constantly contracted, and then contraction to the eccentrics, and that pulling part right there, that's what tears it apart. The lactic acid comes in to fix that muscle group. So that's where that burning sensation comes from. We want to hit that stimulus with the hypertrophy because we want the diameter to not so much shrink, but we want more density. So if you've ever read Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia for Bodybuilding, so he goes over the benefits, the pros and cons of doing cheat curls, the cheat reps, and people are like, oh, that's cheating, you're not really doing the weight. There's a method behind it, so there's not cheating. So once you start evolving and become wiser in training, you realize that there's a reason for everything, and the really high percentage of what people are doing, like in terms of like if they're very successful, right? So if Arnold was taking a bicep curl and he was cheating it up with more weight, and then he's fighting it out slow, so that actual overload of the muscle, so that the heavier weight is going to cause that muscle to grow in diameter. So he does cheat curls for his biceps, but he's fighting out slow, but there's a lot more weight than he can handle than a strict weight. So if I'm doing a strict curl, then I'm not going to hit the diameter, so I'm not going to actually force it to grow in actual size. All right, but if I'm keeping it lighter, so he'll do like a heavier set to get to that fatigue for the diameter, so that's the strength and the power, and then he'll drop the weight and do very strict concentrated reps, and that's where hypertrophy comes from. That's where the diameter comes from. So in the best of both worlds, in any type of training, you want to be able to grow the muscle in diameter, so with heavier weights, get that muscle maturity, and then you should be able to cut down the weight, do strict technique hypertrophy, so that the actual specific muscle group gets fatigued and it causes it to become more condensed. So if you've ever seen people flex their biceps, you see some people that flex that just have big arms, and they're just like big. They're just big in diameter, right? Sorry, my phone's falling. So it's just big in diameter, right? And then you have some people that are smaller in diameter that look just like leaner and more cut up, so like more defined. But you see the bigger guys, like the really successful powerlifters, the bodybuilders, that they have size and they have definition, they have separation between the muscle groups, and this is how those people achieve that body style. And it's very similar on this structure. How I structured this skeleton program is how most of those guys structure their programming. I've dealt with a lot of IFBB pros, and I've dealt with a lot of world record powerlifters, and I've programmed for them, and then they would tell me certain things that they need to work on, and then that's how that you structure these different programs. All right, so let me dive a little bit deeper into the rep schemes. Okay, so if we're looking at my my 2 heavy days, so I'm benching Monday and Saturday, but then I'm doing a Thursday barbell press. So I want to keep usually on my Monday, I want to keep it as a heavier day. So I'll just jot it down, and then we'll go over it. So we'll go a high intensity day on Monday, and then we'll do a hypertrophy day on Saturday. So if you want to look at it again, so it's in the gold marker. So we're gonna do a heavy day on here on Monday, a hypertrophy day on Saturday. That gives us 4 or 5 days rest between those, that same body part. But then on that Saturday, it gives us at least 2 days before the Sunday and then Monday before we come do bench press again. All right, so what will those rep schemes look like? So when I look at power, I want to keep my reps, my total volume, between 3 to 10 reps. That's power. So like my sets will be 1 rep to 3 reps. Okay, so when you first start your block, you will not need to do any power sets. Like this is just, you need to kind of get introduced to the movements, the volumes, the intensity, so you don't want to go super heavy. Because when you're in power, your rep scheme intensities will be at 85% and up, or 83 to 85% and up. From there, that's where your rep schemes will lie in your intensities. Now I want to start with power though. So my power sets is anywhere from 3 to 6 or 3 to 5 reps. Total volume sets should be anywhere between 6 reps and 25 reps. So what that looks like is like if I have on a power set or strength sets, 4 sets of 5, that's 20 reps total. Okay, so that's how I divvy up that work. And at the end of the week, what you're supposed to do is add up all your volume, and then that's how you know how much fatigue you have going on in that microcycle. Okay, so and then I can go on to my next week, and then I can taper my volume, or I can increase the volume, or increase the intensity, lower the volume. So that's how you program. This is actually how you structure your programming. Okay, so on Monday, so if I'm looking at a high intensity day, so I'm going for strength, I'm gonna do a baseline, just a straight baseline of what volume I wanna hit, okay? So I'm gonna go 4 sets of 5, 4 by 5 reps. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at my intensities now. Okay, so if I know that at 67%, I can hit that 12 times as a rep max. So that's just a relative term, that's a relative amount. Okay, so an 87%, 87.5, I should be able to do a rep max of 6 reps. So my 100%, obviously I can do it one time, but when I'm at 87%, those are good gauges. So I should be able to do one set of 6 reps at 87.5%, okay? So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna drop that number down because I have a total of 20 reps that I wanna get through this work if I'm trying to build strength. So this is building strength, so it's still a high intensity day, but I'm just building strength, okay? So then I'm gonna go 4x5 at 82.5%. So I cut down 5% total. So sometimes, depending on what your max is, that could be anywhere between 20 to 60 pounds drop. All right, so it just depends. And then you'll be more, and you'll be at a tentative, you could do an 80%, 75% starting out. So this is just baby steps into that next week, and then we can go over how we progress that actual reps and then intensities, okay? So then now we're got 4x5 on 82.5%. We could do 80% as well, or you can do a split. So you can go 80% for 2 sets of 5, then 82.5% for 2 sets of 5, okay? So now also got our hypertrophy day. So our total volume on our hypertrophy day, we want it to be, it's a bigger range. So it's 20 reps to 60 reps. And what I mean by that is that you don't ever want to go above like really 60 reps. If you look at any strength conditioning, stuff like that, like once you pass 60 reps in terms of like all total volume and whatever you're doing and you have to exercise, you're talking about endurance. So that means that I'm trying to do 10 sets of 10, that's endurance. That's a lot of repetition, that's 100 repetitions total. So I'm not actually stimulating my muscles to get stronger or to grow. I'm actually telling them you have to work moderately less for a longer period of time. So then that's where you get like the marathon runners from, or the the riders from. Like they're very skinny. Their body is set up to endure a certain intensity for a long period of time. That's not what we're trying to gain right now. So on a hypertrophy bench, I look at 20 to 60 reps. So if I'm hypertrophy, we look at the rep schemes from 8 to 15 reps. 15 is pushing it, that still can be endurance, okay? So 8 to 12 to 8 to 15 reps. So if I'm doing 4 sets of 12, what's the math on that? That's 48 reps, right? So that's 48 reps total. So I will just be super basic with my bench press and go 4 sets of 8 or 4 sets of 12 at, so we just said right now I can do a max at 12 reps at 67.5%. So just like we did before, now I'm gonna do 4 sets of 12 at 60%. Or I can do 2 sets of 12 at 57%, and then 2 sets of 12 at 60 to 62%. But for the sake of this, I'll just do 4 sets of 12 at 60% of your 1 rep max. Okay, so these are all good gauger numbers. So hypertrophy, anywhere between 20 and 60 reps total throughout that whole compound set, okay? Total. And then if you add up all your volumes on your working sets, your accessory sets, and then all that is your total volume for the day. And then you can have a better gauge statistically on how you are during your season. So if I'm reaching, so overreaching, so when I'm wanting to get more reps and trying to beat my body down to cause stimulus, so I can go into a deload and then like get better from that after that. So it just depends. You have to start studying on what you want during your season of what you're trying to program. But this has always been a good rule of thumb. This covers all areas. So then we'll go on to the lower body stuff. So I want to do the same exact thing. So I got front squats, I have barbell squats, barbell deadlifts, and then trap bar deadlifts. I want to have my high intensity day, and then I want my hypertrophy day. So I want to put my high intensity lower day furthest away from my high intensity bench day. So I'm gonna look at my Friday and be like, that's gonna be my high intensity lower day. Okay, so I'm gonna put that right here, high intensity. I'll try and do that in a different marker. I know this is a little bit confusing, but once you get the idea of what actual programming is, it becomes very simple. You really have to put yourself in a priority that I'm giving myself enough rest, but then I'm stimulating myself the most effective way possible in that period of time or that day, so that I can get everything I can from my workouts and then rest as optimally as possible while I'm eating sufficiently, and not, if you're trying to lose weight, you're in a slight calorie deficit, but you don't want to be so deep that you go into starvation mode, and then you don't want to over surplus your calories so that you become fat during that process. Because I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think I'm very close. 1 pound of fat is around 36 to 3,800 calories of, or it's 3,800 calories. So if I have to have a surplus of 3,800 calories to gain 1 pound of fat, you can do that one day. It's kind of tougher, but it's like your body checks in after every week and being like, all right, how much did you go over this week? Oh, you went over 10,000? Okay, what's 10,000 divided by 36? I'm going to give you 2 pounds of fat. That's basically what your body kind of does. You don't gain fat the day of whatever you're eating. That's not something that's not even reasonable, because it takes so much longer to create fat. What you're doing is you're gaining water weight. It's from the sodium in your food, and it's from not having proper nutrients, so your body's holding on to water weight, it's holding on to fat, and that's what's causing you to rapid gain weight. Okay, so, and even in rapid gain weight loss, it's the same exact thing. You can't lose a pound of fat within 10 minutes. You can't lose a pound of fat within 1 day of you doing hard cardio. That's not realistic. You're losing water weight, you're losing just other nutrients in your body. That, like I said, that happens over time. So you have to do things the right way every single day. If you want to lose weight, you have to put yourself in a calorie deficit every single day, which is usually around 300 to 500 calorie deficit every single day for a whole week, and that adds up to 1 pound of fat. You only want to lose 1% of your body fat per week. If anything past that point, you're going to actually take away muscle. Okay, so it's about, how do I lose weight while maintaining my muscle mass or increasing my muscle mass at the same time? That is the $1 million question. And that is where that diet and training have to be so aligned, because it's a really hard science at the end of the day, because I want to make sure I'm eating enough so that I'm not going to starvation mode. I'm able to go into my fat depletion, and I'm really going to my fat storage to use energy, and not to go to the muscle groups. Because that's what happens, is our body first will go to muscle because it's less calorie dense. I don't need muscle to live. Fat is more calorie dense, it's 9 calories per gram, so I want to make sure I'm burning. That's my last effort of burning, because if I'm dying, if I'm starving, I want the highest amount of calories if I can't eat, right? So your body will burn fat, or burn muscle first, then fat comes after, okay? So if we feed ourselves efficiently and we're taking care of ourselves nutritionally, then we will bypass the muscle and we'll go right to the fat to burn. All right, and then now we're starting to talk about real science, because now I'm trying to go into my different energy systems. Is it phosphagen? So am I using the fight or flight senses, and because I'm gonna burn fat when I do that, or am I going the opposite with the carbohydrates? Because then that's a slower, and then that's more. It's not the fight or flight. It's it's a more calm tempered way of burning energy that you do throughout the day. I forgot what the exact term is, but now. So we did a high intensity on the barbell squats, and then we're to go a lower. Grab a different one. So a hypertrophy day on Tuesday. So that's with the front squats and then the trap bar deadlifts. I like to do it that way too, because trap bar deadlifts, they take a lot of load off your spine. From that vertical position, from it being at a higher handle position. And the front squat, it's gonna take a lot of load off your spine as well, because you're actually not loading your spine. You're not putting the barbell on your back, because you could put a barbell on your back and then loosen your core and it'd be all compression at the lower spine. But the front squat, once you put it in a front rack position, it forces you into engage so that you keep your lower back protected. It's very hard to go through a front squat and not protect yourself, because what's gonna happen if I don't properly brace, the bar will roll off my shoulders, because I'm not engaging my core the proper way, or I'm not engaging my shoulder shelf the right way. So it forces us into a proper position. That's why I like to use front squat. It shows you how to hinge your hips properly, and it shows you that you have to brace properly in order to perform this exercise. Okay, so right now we have the hypertrophy day, so we're to go on front squats. Since we have, so if we went four sets of 12 on bench, we have to look at the full body lift of a front squat. You're gonna burn way more energy because it's a full body lift. So maybe I don't want to go straight ahead to the highest amount of hypertrophy or the rep range. Maybe I start a little bit lower on the lower end of the spectrum, and then I'll build up my volume as those blocks go on during the week. Okay, so I'll start out at 3 sets of 8, and then, so like I said, you can do 12 reps at 67.5%. So I'm gonna do 3 sets of 8 at 65%, all right? And then now we go to high intensity on barbell squats. So now, like I said, it has to be anywhere between 3 to 10 reps, or 6 to 25 for the strength day. We don't want to get into power yet. So 6 to 25 reps in terms for my barbell squats for my strength training, high intensity stuff. So I'm just gonna go, since like I said, it's a full body lift and there's more energy expenditure there. I'll go 3 sets of 5. So a 3x5. So it's gonna be a slightly higher intensity. On these higher intensities, you wanna push those actual lifts, okay? So I'm gonna end my last set of 3 sets of 5 at 82%, okay? So that's actually pushing it. So if I said that I can do 87.5% for 6 reps, I'm gonna go 5 reps for either 3 sets of 5 or the last set of 5 at 82%. All right, so then now, this is kind of what it looks like. It's super messy, and I'm sorry, but if you want to screenshot that just to see. All right, so I'll read it off. So Monday we have a high intensity bench press at 4 sets of 5 reps at 82.5% at all sets. Tuesday, we have front squats at 3 sets of 8, 65%. We'll get into trap bars just after this. And then on Thursday, we haven't gone over these rep schemes yet, but this will be more like either dynamic effort or injury prevention or another hypertrophy or power day. And then so Friday with barbell squats, I'm going 3 sets of 5 at 82.5%. All right, so that's a higher workload. You're burning a lot of energy at that intensity, all right? So we'll go over barbell deadlifts too. But on Saturday, we have hypertrophy bench, 4 sets of 12 at 60%, all right? So let's talk about the trap bar deadlifts and the barbell deadlifts. Okay, so I did a high intensity day on Friday for my barbell deadlifts or barbell squats. So what I usually do is I'm not gonna match that with another high intensity lift, okay? Especially because deadlifts can be dangerous if you do them right after a high intensity squat. We will have to do that in the future, like a SBD day, just if you do competitions. But for now, we don't have to do that. We're just trying to prep ourselves. So I'm gonna turn that into a dynamic effort day at 8x2 at 55%. Okay, so then now when I do that, I'm worried about technique, I'm worried about explosion, and now I'm gonna worry about rest times, okay? So I'm gonna take my rest time down significantly to only 1 minute per set. So I have to really time my rest times because I'm trying to get something from this. I'm trying to get a stimulus from this. When the rest time is at 1 minute, we're actually engaging more growth hormone and testosterone. But if you go 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, then you're gonna secrete more testosterone. But the human growth hormone is secreted at a lower rest time, right? So that's the only reason why we do it. Also, I like to see my athletes, when they fatigue, that's when technique matters. So 1 minute amount of rest, that's not much rest. So then that actually makes you so that you have to focus or you're gonna hurt yourself, right? So you have to focus in on the technique when you're doing dynamic effort, stuff like that, because you can skate through that exercise and not get a damn thing from it. But what we wanna do is we wanna make sure every rep is perfect. Every perfect rep is gonna, later on, it's gonna make it a perfect rep when you max out. These are all practice reps. So make sure you're practicing the proper way. Trap bar deadlifts. So now that I'm doing a hypertrophy day on the front squats, I will have some fatigue in there, but I can do a higher intensity on my trap bar because I haven't done high intensity on my lower in 4 days for the previous Friday, and I won't have a high intensity for the next 3 days until Friday after that Tuesday. So what I'm gonna do is I'll do a 4x4, and then on trap bar deadlifts. So trap bar deadlifts will be a different max than your regular bar deadlifts, but I'll just be tentative and say that we're gonna do all those sets at the last 2 sets at 85%. So I'll go 2 by 4 at 80%, and then 2 by 4 at 85%. All right, so then that shows that if I can do 6 reps at 87.5%, then 2 sets of 4 reps at 85% will be challenging, but it won't be a max. It'll actually be right on the edge of knocking out the door of fatigue, so that I'm causing a stimulus when I'm doing these weights. There's a lot of work going on during these high intensity sets, so you have to really focus in on the reps and doing them properly and engaging the proper ways. The last day would be that shoulder day. So if you want to screenshot this right now, if you want to just look at it. So this last day would be this shoulder day right here. So I haven't included at all any accessories. Each day is gonna have 3 or 4 accessories that contribute to whatever theme we had in our compound lifts. Okay, so then they're not just randomized things. So if I'm having bench press, I'm gonna have a pull day to kind of like help out with the bench press, right? So if I have those stabilizer muscles like my lats, my rear delts, my traps, I'm gonna do like a lying pull, so that then I'm using my antagonistic muscle groups now, so that I'm helping my bench press. So it all has a theme. And then so in my next video, I'm gonna go over the accessories that you would go through for these actual lifts. But so this last day, I'll just say for the barbell shoulder press, you can gauge this day. This is like a free day, all right? So this is like an injury prevention day, so it's just like a bodybuilding day. You just treat it as a bodybuilding day. So it depends on how your Monday goes, your Tuesday goes, and then we'll roll into your Thursday. So if you had a really good day of bench press and you're feeling strong, and then a good day of the front squats and the trap bar deadlifts, you can either one of 2 ways. You could push it on the Thursday and go higher volume and then just really burn out, and get some fatigue going and get some growth to build the body. Or you can lighten the weight up if the couple workouts before earlier in the week were not that great. So if you can gauge this on how you're feeling, so this is like it's almost like an RPE scale. So it's like if I'm not walking into this session feeling that great, I know that I have the freedom today to lighten the load and then focus on the repetitions, get some blood flow. If my joints are shot, because it will happen over hard training, take it easy on that day. And then obviously we'll roll into our Friday or Saturday. So right now we have the 5-day split. We have 2 heavy, 2 hypertrophy, and then a 1 free, like dynamic effort free day that we can work with. Just went over the compound lifts. There's so much information that this took me 30 minutes just to go over the information for the compound lifts. And I didn't even go into depth really. So on my next video, I'm gonna go in on the accessories. So how to complement your compound barbell lifts with your accessories. And because it all ties in together. And then those rep schemes have to be accounted for too. Your volume has to be accounted for. If you wanna be serious about this, you have to account for your volume. Because if you don't, then you're just kind of just farting in the wind. You're just kind of going in and just doing things. And you're wasting a lot of time. When we walk into the gym, my job is make your time the most efficient work that you can do in the capacity in that time that you're in the gym, right? And if you're walking in, you're wasting sets just like doing this and then not getting nothing from it. Oh, okay, I just did 1 set of 12, but I didn't feel nothing. Then now we're wasting time. I have to look at these percentages. I have to look at the volumes, and that's how I can gauge how much work someone's going through during a span of a workout. Okay, so these things have to be paid attention to. And if you're just a beginner, it's better to learn this stuff now, because this is gonna expedite your process by 3, 4, 5 years. I tell guys that come to me, man, I wanna be like you in 3 or 4 years, blah, blah. I say, look, you gotta listen to me then, because I can speed up your process by 5 years if you listen to me. But you can be a slapdick and go do the other shit that everybody else does and just go waste a bunch of fucking time. And then it'll take you 6, 7, 8, 10 years. But I can expedite your process by 2 years. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. Practicing and programming for volume intensity. When you plan it, then you know where you'll be in 5, 6, 7 weeks. I know when I'm plateauing. I can plan for my plateaus. I can plan for when I'm feeling fatigued, so that I can plan to get out of it. So I can plan to rehab, I can prehab, I can up my rest, I can up my intake of calories. So those are all things that just from the foundation of what your workout should be planned as, you have to be educated and you have to put yourself in a good position to be successful. All right. So I thank you for everyone that with the little comments that whatever they wanted to see, or if it helped or anything like that, I'm gonna keep doing them, because this is where I feel like my purpose is, to really help people with the things that I've learned. So next time, part 3, I'm gonna go over accessories. Hopefully this one helped. This is probably the most, in my eyes, the most important in terms of how to structure your workouts. You have to know your volumes and you have to know your intensities.